Hello once again and welcome again to Vedic Astrology. This is a Vedic astrology channel that I bring to you astrology, transits, monthly and weekly readings, patra readings, and I ask that you join in and jump with me on this journey across the sea of life where you get a brighter day with Vedic astrology to guide you. I'm looking at bringing some knowledge and transferring some knowledge to you this week on the Swati nakshatra, which is housed or posited in Libra. The symbol for Swati nakshatra, or the symbols I should say, is a sword and a young shoot of a plant, and the flexibility and innate potential of strength and the innocence of youth is reflected in this young plant. And it also shows us that it can be molded to grow into something or to not grow, so that there's a lot of responsibility and authority in this symbol of the young plant. It is also called the self-going star or the independent sword, and which is why the next symbol for the Swati nakshatra is the sword. And this one is not as flexible as the young shoot of the plant, so that we have two different symbols here fighting with each other for recognition, in that the wind or the vayu can push the plant either which way, but can it push the sword? No, it can't. The sword represents survival of self with strength and precision. The influence of the wind is really something then that we should look at these symbols for Swati nakshatra, and we will shortly come to Vayu. Vayu, as we can see here, is one of the primary deities of the Hindu religion. He is the lord of the wind as well as deity of breath and the spiritual father of Hanuman and Bhima. And obviously, the Sanskrit text will tell us a lot of stories about Hanuman and Bhima. Lord Vayu is also revered as one of the Hindu triad, namely sun, wind and air. He is referred to as Vata, meaning blown, Pavna, meaning purifier, and also as Prana, or the breath. He is praised in the hymns as the intelligence who illumines the earth and heaven and makes the dawn shine. In the Rig Veda, Lord Vayu is said to be a trusted friend of Indra, and he is also the first person or deity to take the Soma juice, which was well loved by the Devas. He is said to have been married to the daughter of the celestial architect Vishwakarma and given his daughter in marriage to the great king Dhruva. Right? Vayu is, as we would say in another hymn, the son-in-law of Vastri. Vayu is also said to have reincarnated as a sages, and he did this when he was cursed by Lord Indra to go down to earth because of one of the misdeeds that he did. So Vayu is there in everything that we do. Vayu is our breath, or breath of life. Vayu is the air that we breathe. Vayu is the wind that takes us from one place to another. Vayu is that great balance in the world that brings us purity and the purifier, and he is what takes us from one place to the next. So that Vayu is quite important, and with the symbols that we just went through with the young plant and the sword, we can see how important air is to us, and we know without air we cannot breathe, and without breath we cannot stay alive. So Vayu and his importance cannot be put aground. The padas of the Swati nakshatra starts with Sagittarius and ends with Pisces, which is Pushkara. So that only one of the pada in this nakshatra is Pushkara. That gives that boost to any planet sitting in that degree or pada. And Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. Again, we have Jupiter, Saturn, Saturn, Jupiter. So that, I'd like to take a closer look today on the Swati and give another view or another way to analyze, or that I usually analyze, the padas of the Swati nakshatra. So this is one of the tables that I use, and it's just, for me to focus on the padas and keywords that are associated with a nakshatra and its pada, and the influences of the graha or the specific graha that is influenced, the behaviors and the characteristics of the pada that we may be born into. And the first, second, third, the fourth pada, as you see, fourth pada is Pushkara, Navamsha. We also have in this way, we have Jupiter, Venus, Rahu and Saturn influencing. And this is because Venus is the lord of the Rasi, which is Libra, and the lord of the nakshatra is Rahu. The lord of the pada, as we just saw, was Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, which is Jupiter and Saturn. So that in this way, these four planets here are the influencers of this nakshatra and the padas in it. So that we have, what do we think when we look at, the first pada or of Jupiter? We look at intellect. With Venus, we look at beauty. Rahu is the future because he's always looking forward to do some strategy. And Saturn is authority. So that, in that way, we have all these themes working with the Swati nakshatra. And then we have the nakshatra itself. What do we know about Swati and the nakshatra itself? It is abundance, it is harmony, it is indulgence, obstacles through Saturn. So, this is what that's some of the things we look at, and we can go on and look at all these characteristics that we view and understand to be the padas of the Swati nakshatra, so that this is the depth and the details that can be associated with a person born into the Swati nakshatra. And this also shows you the difference that a person or four persons can be if they are born into each of the padas, how different they can be, and it's the same nakshatra. It could even be the same day, but they can be different. Again, this is why twins are different, so that the nakshatras and the details and the padas and the details really give you that insight as to the difference in personalities and persons, even those born on the same day as twins, triplets or quadruplets. So these are some of the characteristics of the Rashi itself, Libra. And Libra, as we view it, we always think of balance, the scales of justice. And this is where karma really plays a role, because this is where Saturn is exalted. And Libras are fun, charming, sensitive. They are extremely intelligent, and because of the scales of justice, they have a knack for seeing both sides of the situations. This can be positive, but it can also be negative, because it means that you're seeing both sides of the situation, so you have an understanding and an empathy for both sides, and then you may not be able to make that decision. This is where it becomes indecisive, unchangeable, gullible sometimes, and even easily influenced, but most of the time when we think about Libra, we think about they being diplomatic and romantic and easygoing and peaceable. That is how we think of Libra. Libra also gets the 11th card, which is justice. So again, the alignment of the tarot and Vedic astrology through Patra reading is shown here again. The Queen of Swords from the Minor Arcana, shows us a time to reflect upon current situation and past actions. And what did we go through previous to this slide? We went through the symbols, which one is a sword. So, and when we think about justice, we also think about a sword, that it can cut either which way, a double-edged sword, that the wind can take it in either direction. So these are a lot of things that we have to add, and we have to connect, and we have to analyze to bring to you the reading that we bring to you when we do a patra reading for you based on your kundali. And when we think about the clear mind and the patience that Libra has, you know, it is also a sign of the scales, as I said, it's the scales of justice, which gives you an excellent person who has organizational abilities and a shrewd judge of human nature. So you know, you see somebody and you either have an affinity for them or not, and that is where your intuition and your balance and your mental capability comes through. And if Swati nakshatra or Libra is your ascendant or your lagna, the 11th lord is Badhak for you here, so that will be Leo. Leo will be Bhadak for you, and Leo, which is sun, will create obstacles for you, so that you know you may have obstacles created by your own father or your elder siblings. So some male figure will have some say in creating delays for you. So that these are the characteristics that we look at in Libra zodiac sign. We have Rahu here for the characteristics in Libra. You know, when Rahu lands in this nakshatra, this sign, he is the master manipulator. You know, he's an illusionist. He is the head without a body. And in a previous video I spoke about him having a lot of strategies and not being able to execute, because he has the thoughts in his head but he cannot execute because he has no body. Remember, he and Ketu are separated, and the illusion here is that Rahu represents balance. He has the relationship here with Venus, and I say an average relationship because Venus is the god of the Asuras and Rahu is considered an Asura, so that Venus actually is the ruler here, and not only of Rahu but of Libra, so that you find that balance. Even though it's a manipulation and a skillful manipulation at that, there's still a balance that is maintained based on the relationship of Venus and Rahu. And both of them are airy planets, so you know they can go either which way. Again, how does that affect you? How does that affect your family life? It kind of gives you a detachment, and you experience problems, especially in relationships. You know, your assets can be lost in this regard, because remember, Venus is the ruler of Taurus, the original second house, which deals with assets and family. And this is where we have another version of Venus and Rahu here. And while Rahu in Libra makes the person tactful, it is not good for love and a married life. You know, such a person tends to be dominating and destructive, and there's a lack of trust. Now the constellation Bhutesh is here in Libra, and this constellation has a lot of fixed stars in it, you know, at different degrees, but the constellation itself gives you prosperity from work, strong desires, a tendency to excess, a fondness for rural pursuits, you know, and together with some kind of liking you have for the occult, you know. And again too, there's the stories from the Greek theories and gods of Zeus and Callisto, and the story of Icarus, and also the story of Arcturus. So that these are all, you know, growing, and the gifts that you can have, but it can also be added, and I usually add the fixed stars in my reading and analysis of your patra when you request your report. This flashcard is just again a synopsis or a summary of the characteristics and themes that we view and align and connect to your reading when we view your report, or when you request a report, you know. And this is why some things are so different, and why you think differently, and why you behave differently, and why some people have a heart and some people don't, and some people who have a heart is still, you know, anxious and fiery, and they do well in particular directions, because the nakshatra they are born in is either chara, which is movable, or stira, which is fixed, so that at the end of the day, how lucky are you or how unlucky are you? What are the characteristics and the innate untangible behaviors that come through in a particular nakshatra and pada for you? Are you going to behave like a deva with a heart of gold, with justice and the Queen of Swords there sticking behind you and trying to push you in the right direction? Or are you going to be that animal, that buffalo, or that bird, that pigeon who flew and who can be the messenger? Or are you going to stick with your deity, Lord Vayu, with the influence of Rahu? What it is? What are you going to do? Are you going to destroy like Lord Shiva to be renewed, or are you going to be the symbol of the shoot of the plant where you can grow and you can become strong and you can become a sword with precision and strength? These are some of the things that we look at, and I bring them to you all the time just to give you a heads up as to your potential, if Swati is reflective of you and your ascendant. The avatar that we're looking at today is Varaha, the avatar of the bow, and this is the avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, because remember, we always think about the zodiac and the 12 signs as the limbs of Vishnu. And Varaha may be depicted as completely as a boar, or in a form with a boar's head and a human body. His consort is said to be Bhudevi, the earth, and is often depicted as a young woman lifted by Varaha. The story here is that Varaha was the incarnation that came, or the avatar of Lord Vishnu, that saved the earth, because the earth was stolen, or the planet Earth was stolen by the demon named Hiranyaksha. All right, and this avatar reminds us to be mindful of the power we are given and how we utilize this gift. And there is always someone stronger and better equipped, whether mentally, physically, or spiritually, to give us that jab or that fist of reality. And Hiranyaksha completely forgot that when he went to earth and was sent to earth and understood that nobody on earth could kill him, and he just went astray and utilized his power in a way that was not good for the people and for the deities, so that the devas asked for assistance, and they got the assistance in the form of Varaha, the avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu. As always, we have taken the time, or I have taken the time, to share with you my knowledge and my research. I hope that you learned something and that I can transfer my knowledge in a message that can be clear and complete to you. And I thank you for joining me on this journey. I ask that you share, you sign up, you subscribe to my YouTube channel and my website at zedamastrology.com. I hope that I see you next time when I bring to you another video, be it on the nakshatras or astrology itself. Thank you so much, and see you. Bye.